Hello, everybody. Welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn, and I'm very excited to be joined once again by Harikrishnasamy. Ramez, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Flynn?
I'm really good, thank you. And we were chatting just before we went live that it is a public holiday in Malaysia.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
what's the
is.
public holiday? Because you just taught me, and I think it's really cool to find out.
Yeah, so it's Hari Raya Haji. So basically, what they do is they will sacrifice like goat, sheep, or cow, and then they will celebrate this festival by eating it. So they will do like a gathering. I think it usually happens at the villages, and you can see during this public holiday, a lot of people will rush back to villages. But now that because of this pandemic and all this,
Mm.
and I'm not sure if that's happening, but then those people who are already in the villages, they can celebrate it, but the rest can enjoy the public holiday.
Enjoying a public holiday. I do love a public holiday. That is awesome. I'm really glad that you get to take a break because I know how hard you work. And we've done a lot of streams, so you definitely deserve a break.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
Hello, everybody in chat. Johanna is here. Some of our friends, friendly faces here in chat. Festus as well. R&B is there. What's up? Really good to see you. It is Friday here, so very very good vibes. How about we get some music on? We've got a new playlist, so everybody let us know if you're liking the tunes, because we've got a lot of music to test out. And we have a lot on today. So we've done, this is our third, the final one that we've got booked in for the moment, photo
Yep.
manipulation. We've started out, somewhat basic, and we've built our skills up over time. So maybe you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you're watching this live, and you want to learn more about photo manipulation. We kind of started a little bit easier, and Ramesh has like bumped up the gears every time we've done it. But I'll let you. We'll jump over to your screen because you were going to take us through what we've done already, and then what we're going to do today. So we
Yep.
can just get straight into it.
Cool. So, okay, there you go. So again, 3 weeks ago, this is what we have learned, right? A basic manipulation where you get all these images together. Like you can see, I'm using 5 different images here, and we get to create this, right? It's a simple photo manipulation. Again, it depends how you imagine stuff. And if you look into this photo manipulation, you get to see light source as well, right? The light source is coming from the sunlight, and that's one. And last week, we use all of this photos to create this, right? So if
Mm.
let me just show you some detail work here. For example, if you're wondering how I created this window shape and everything, again, it depends. Like I always say, do not see the photo the way it is. It's always good to see it from a different perspective.
Mm.
What I did was I literally take a plain window and I resize it really large
I love
to
this.
have the
Yeah.
space around it so that even yesterday I remember I was talking about it to my dad and he was wondering where do you get that shape, and I told him, it was like, oh, he's mind blown. So yeah, stuff like that, like you can see like fireballs. We also use a lot of like dust. Again, detailing is very important.
Mm.
We also have this steel floor again as a base where the astronauts stand and stuff like that. So when we get all this together, we get this. So that's what we did last week. For this week,
Mm.
we have this bunch of stock images. And if you're looking at it again, if I were to pass this to another designer, probably he or she will create a brand new photo manipulation. For me, I'm seeing a different thing. Let's see if you guys will learn something out of it. Again, here, if quickly look back at the last week, there's only light source here. That's coming from the Earth, right?
Mm.
From for this week, I think it would be great to look at 2 different light source. So there's like a combo of 2 different colors combining together, and I hope you guys will learn something new out of it. So yeah.
Oh, we always do. I mean, I always learn so much, and I've been, playing around with Photoshop for a very long time. So, yeah, I said it last week, but yeah, last week, just the different ways and different techniques that you use is something that really shone out to me. Like in certain
Mm-hmm.
situations, there's ways to like using screen. Using adjustment layers, different ways to cut things out that are appropriate to the type of thing you're doing, rather than just there being one way for everything. So really using like everything that Photoshop has to offer, and using the right tool for the right job, which I think is one of the main things that I always learn from you. So yeah, I'm really excited. We were all chatting about where are we going to go. We went to space last time, so
We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back down.
coming back down to Earth
So
today.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Cool.
right,
So okay, let's get started then.
great.
Okay. First thing first, canvas is super important. Again, I'm using 16 by 9 so that I can show more of the areas of my photo manipulation. And I'm going to start off with bringing in this stock image. Okay, this one, I'll just drag this very quickly in here. Hold on.
And I should mention, as we're just getting set up, if you are watching, we're live on Behance and we're also live on YouTube. But if you're watching on YouTube and you want to jump in with questions, if you just want to say hello, the chat that we're using today is over on Behance. So behance.net/live. You can log in, ask questions as we're going. You'll notice there's a Q&A above our cameras over here. So at about halfway, we'll answer a lot of the questions. But of course, if you've got questions about what Ramesh is doing, then you can ask as we're going along, and we'll ask questions as we go.
Cool. So first thing first, it's always good to arrange your stock manipulation based on from the background to foreground. It's something that I always practice, so that you know the base and how the background is supposed to be and stuff like that. For this, I'm gonna start off with this cliff, right? So I have this cliff over here, and that's like the base. And I also have another stock image which I'm gonna bring in now. So I have this moon and clouds and everything. Again, this is the first light source that I have. So I'm gonna enlarge this really big. And I want to quickly flip it because I want the moon to be on the other side, just like this. And I'm going to just place it over here. Okay. Again, I just want to make sure that the moon at the right place and stuff like that. Again, always use the opacity because you can't see it if you just place it in 100. Without the transparent, you probably won't get able to see the other side, the other photo at the back. Okay, this is this. And I'm going to just increase back the opacity and bring the moon at the back here and call this cliff. I also have one of the main stock image that I would like to use, which will be this. Right? This is actually an engine of a plane, right? And I think it would be nice to actually tell a story by just using this. You guys will probably get the idea later. For now, I'm gonna just position it this way. I'm going to enlarge it really big like this. I'm going to push it down like this. There you go. Okay, more towards here. Okay, and move it slightly down, up. Okay, now it's perfect. And I'm going to just increase the opacity. Again, we need to remove I have more stock images, but I want to start off with this first. So I'm gonna again cut out the white area. So for that, of course, always press on W for quick selection and then select on the subject. And it will calculate, and of course there are some parts that's still not selected. Just press on W. Magic. You can also use Magic 1 in this case. What I did was I'm just
deselecting everything, kind of
deselecting the area that is correct. So that's happening, and I can see there's some areas here that's not selected. So I'm going to switch to L, again, one of my favorite tool. Again, I need to select this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just manually select these edges here. Perfect. Okay, this is good. Okay, done with that. Let me just check. Okay, everything looks good. And then you just need to zoom out and press on the masking feature. There you go, you get this, right? Yeah, cool. So now that you have this, time to do some color adjustment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the cliff. So we have this cliff. And the reason why I'm doing this light source exercise is because I think most of the people who message me saying that, how do you actually convert like daytime photos to night scene? I think it's one of the challenges because that doesn't mean that for night scenes you need to look for night images that was taken at night, right? So again, with Photoshop, you can always get this done perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go down here to the adjustment layer and look for hue and saturation. Again, here, as you can see here, it's a daytime thing. It's probably like around, it's about to get sunset or something, but I'm going to just decrease this And I think I forgot one thing, which is no problem at all. I forgot to mask it out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna quickly just hide that thing very quickly, go back to cliff, and let's do a quick selection of the cliff so that we get to see the moon at the back. So here I should be very easy selection because there's it's quite a different colors, so it's easy to do a selection of the background and foreground.
Right. So it
Okay,
tends
that's
to work
done.
tends to work best when there's a big contrast between what you're
All
trying to
right,
cut out
all
and
right.
then yeah.
Yeah, it's like a dark and a bright background as well here, right? So once I press that, you get to see the moon now. And then why don't you switch back the hue and saturation we did earlier, but make sure you press on alternate so you get this. So now that you have like a, you know there's a moon, you know this area is supposed to look dark, right? Because the light will come through, which we're gonna fix in a bit. So we have this, and we also have this engine. And in order to fix the colors, for example, here, it's always good to do some adjustment. You know the light source, the first light source coming from the moon. So let's go back to this hue here, and let's switch our brush to something huge. And I want to focus on the flow. Flow is very important. Don't make it too contrast, like too intense. Maybe 17 or 16 might work. Again, since the light is coming from there, it's always nice to just rub off a bit, just like this, right? So the light is coming from there, and if you notice, it's I think it would be nice to have like a blue hue around it. And in order to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with color lookup now itself, rather than at the end.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to color looks, and I'm going to look for night from day, which is perfect. Again, it could be very intense like this, but then because of the opacity, we can always reduce it, because I just want to have a bit of tint blue around this image. So if you see before and after, you see a lot of difference, right? So here's the blue tint. And then now that we have this, time to bring in the engine here. When I say two light source, you will get to see the next light source very soon. So what I'm going to do now is I also need to make this engine look darker, obviously, because it's a night scene. So I'm going to go up here to hue and saturation. Make sure you press on alternate so that it's masked underneath, and you just drag the lightness really, really dark like this. So it's amazing how after you're done clipping mask and everything, you get to see like the moon throughout. It will guide you through, like, because we select all this area, so it's nice to see through all the light. Again, back of my head, I already know how it's gonna turn out to be. So what I'm doing is I'm going slowly to adjust the color to match with the overall background and stuff like that. So this is dark. When I say two light source, always forget about the next light source that we're gonna add. Always concentrate on the first light source first, because at the end of the day, you get confused, not knowing, oh my God, this light is coming from here, that light is coming from there. Don't worry, always start with the first light source. That's what I've always been doing, even our previous stream. Always focus on the one light first. If there's an explosion, then you add on lighting based on the explosion to your subject, right? Don't get confused. Don't imagine stuff way before ahead. Yeah. As in, don't start editing it way before you put the extra element. Sorry, that's super important. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have this particular engine darkened, so I'm going to go to the hue and saturation, press on B. I'm gonna brush off a bit. You can see how I'm trying to bring in the light from the moon, like this. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna brighten up this area here, because again, imagination is super important. Like I said, always imagine that you are there. So I'm gonna brighten up this area to see how far the light might reach. I'm gonna color here a bit. Again, it's coming through this particular engine. As you can see, it's broken. It's a part of an engine. What happened is that there was a fight between two parties, like a army, and then something happened, which I'm gonna share in a bit. So that's that. Again, these stories always help me. It will always guide me through to create scenes. Like, for example, okay, this happened, or okay, what should people see in real life and stuff like that. So it's super important to do this. I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna bring color lookup right on top so that you have the blue tint here as well. So that's that, and yeah, that's perfect. Again, what I'm doing is I'm just gonna bring in more light that's hitting from the moon. The moon is hitting on this. Okay,
We've
gonna
spoken
go
about it
in
in
here.
previous streams, but for those that may not have seen it, yeah, just that idea of coming up with a story and how important that is, and how once you've come
Yeah,
up with a story, how that can guide you throughout the entire piece.
right. Because for me, photo manipulation is a very nice thing to do, but I do seen some. I mean, I've seen some photo manipulation where they simply use colors and then this person just jumping out of nowhere, and then there's no story. So me as a viewer who's watching it, let's say if I'm not a design person, right? Again, if I'm a design person, I probably appreciate that. Wow, the use of color. I like how you crop the guy out, but he's just standing there jumping on a cliff or something. What is the story? I think it would be nice to those people who are not designers to quickly look at it and understand, right?
Mm.
That's when your design wins because you reach way more people, more audience. So always have context. For example, maybe there's a dragon or there's some leopard chasing you or something. Then people know, oh, this is happening right now, right? So yeah. Again, life is about stories anyway. So it's always nice to insert it in your photo
That's true.
manipulation as well. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm trying to imagine the light is coming and I'm standing there capturing this scene. And what I'm doing is I'm slowly coloring in the back part of the ship. Again, being there, seeing this, I know the light coming from in between this particular hole and all that. A bit here. You can see I didn't color this part because I know probably might not reach because of the angle,
Mm.
right? You can see I added here a bit, so maybe it comes through here and all this. Okay, I'm happy with this one. Okay, so this is the first light source, and also I want to do a bit of adjustment to levels of this engine. So in order to do that, go to the image itself, press on Control L. So you get this pop-up. So simply drag this slider so that it become more sharper in terms of like contrast of there's two ways to do it. You can use brightness and contrast or levels. Levels is one of my favorite. So you can see if I drag this, you see how intense it is, right? So again, how am I doing this? I'm trying to match back with the cliff because the cliff is more intense, the colors, the contrast, but not the engine. The engine it has less contrast, so I'm gonna use levels to adjust the contrast instead. Okay, that works. Perfect. Of course, the light source is coming from the back. It's always good to adjust the shadow underneath the engine. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new layer right underneath the engine. Let's call this engine shadow. Press on B for brush and then make sure you select a black and white. That's already there. Perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. You can see there's actually like a rock and stones underneath, right? You need to again imagine where would the shadow be. Because the light is coming from the back, just simply what I'm doing is I'm going to simply use brush to brush like that at the back. Again, don't worry, we will just then move down because I can't see it yet. So Control T to transform, press on alternate shift to distort it, bring it down right underneath where the engine is. Okay, now that you've done that, probably you want to spread the shadow all over. You don't have to keep creating new shadows. What I'm going to do is, again, one of my favorite tools, Control T, press on, right click on it and use walk. Now I can move the shadow where I want it to be, right? You can see it start to show up at the bottom here,
Yeah.
like this. By just using one source of shadow, we can move things around. You don't have to keep creating. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to imagine it's being down there. Again, you can see once you zoom in, you get to see the shadow right underneath here.
Mm.
There. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just increase my brush a bit, zoom out, and it's time to add shadows to the engine. In order to do that, create a new layer on top of the engine, maybe drag above the hue and saturation. Let's call this shadow. Um, and make sure your brush is slightly bigger. And what I'm going to do is with a flow that's little like this, 26, which is perfect. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna brush the engine here, gonna add shadow. Because the light is coming from here, obviously this part has to be slightly darker. So I'm gonna zoom in here and I'm gonna just brush down here. There you go, like that. So there you go there. And because of the stone and the big rock over there, I'm gonna make this slightly darker as well at the bottom here. Again, whenever I even press one click of a button of the brushes or whatever, I'm trying to imagine I'm there. I need to process. For example, okay, does it make sense for me to put a shadow here? And then back of my brain say, yeah, makes sense because you're there. So yeah, stuff like that. So you need to then only you can create like a real looking photo manipulation. So as you can see, we take 3 different photos. We already achieved this by just adjusting the lights and shadows and everything, right? So I'm gonna do that a bit more. I'm gonna zoom in here. Oh, and I have to say that based on our previous stream, a lot of people did try the same technique. I think I did share on my IG story. I'm super amazed by these people. Literally, they follow. I think 3 weeks ago when we created this oriental-looking image based in Osaka, Japan, where we created this big lion statue. There's one girl in India. I think she's from US. She actually tried it and she messaged me. I'm super amazed. Like she managed to even find similar stock images and recreate it. It's always nice to see other creators recreate stuff using the same technique.
I saw that on your Instagram story. I think you reshared it.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely incredible, and definitely makes us feel good when people get out there and try some of the techniques and share it. It was really impressive. I thought it was yours at first because it was very good. You did a really good
You're
job.
so close. Like I was like, am I looking at mine? Did she repost mine? So yeah. So that's that. Okay, now that I've created this, I know there's like a light source coming up from the back. We did adjust the different lightings within the engine so that it comes through the engine, and we also fix the shadow underneath so that it makes sense. Now, that's the first source light. Now I'm going to introduce source light number 2. But before we do that, I am going to bring in another stock image, a very important character in this story. For some reason, he looks like Flynn. I don't know. I think he looks like Flynn.
It looks like me.
There you go. Yeah, it looks like you.
He's got a better beard. And he's got a fresher haircut, that's for sure.
Yeah, which you want to get very soon, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
A haircut, yep. So now that I have a soldier, you're probably thinking, where should I put it? Where should I position him? You see, I watch a lot of movies, like science fiction movies, and I think I remember watching Star Wars yesterday, right? I think it would be nice to position him inside this engine here because it's already a broken engine. Again, there will be a reason why that happens. So I'm going to first cut him out. So let's press on W, select subject. Let's see if all the he's being selected. Very quickly. Cool. Okay, we selected him. There are some part is not there yet. So I'm gonna deselect this area here. Deselect something in between his leg. Press on L to refine the edges. Okay, that works. There's also more stuff here. I'm gonna deselect this area.
And you're using the
polygonal lasso.
Polygon lasso.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just deselect that, and I'm gonna deselect the shadow. We don't need the shadow because we will recreate it ourselves based on our own lighting. So I'm gonna just cut off that, deselect this area.
Do you ever use the magnetic lasso, or do you find that you more often just use the normal one?
Oh yeah, I most of the time when I use the magnetical lasso is when I have like this kind of image. For example, because it's very, very rough, right? Most of the time I did use this, but then because the background and the foreground, there's a lot of contrast, rather than use magnetical lasso, I rather use the normal selection tool because they can differentiate already the different textures. So I rather use the quick selection tool. Yeah. That, and I'm gonna deselect uh, oops, I'm gonna deselect this area. Something in between is done. Okay, and here as well. There's also a beauty in practicing how to cut images out using polygonal lasso. You learn how to control the pressure of your trackpad or mouse. Because some people, most of the people say that, hey, how do you manage to control? You can imagine how the amount of what do you call like a manipulation of photos that I cut out. So that's how you practice. So I'm gonna deselect this. Okay, perfect. I think it looks okay. Again, I'm gonna quickly mask it. So once I mask it, you'll notice this. You notice there's a lot of like a feather. I'll say it that's not clean. Like for
Right.
example, can be a bit blurry. In order to fix that, very easy. Just press on W again. Go up here, select and mask. So there's two things that you can do. You can adjust the contrast and also shift the edges. By doing shift and edges, I can see that it become way better where it remove all the white outline, but the feather cause it to have a bit of blurriness at the edges. For that, I always use contrast so they become slightly sharper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this contrast. There you go. It's slightly sharper now, and I click OK. And I'm going to put him in the engine. So I'm going to reduce the opacity so that it can guide me where is the cutoff line. Resize him. Again, I need to zoom out to imagine I'm there right now. Again, I'm imagining somebody in the airport area where you're waiting at the waiting lounge area. You get to see somebody going to the engine and cleaning it up. I'm sure
Right.
you have seen this. So that's how you see the size of the engine and the human. Else, it's very hard for you to even guess what is the right size. If
Right.
you were to sit there, what will it be? This small, which doesn't make sense because it's too small. So we need to enlarge again, back of your head. You need to keep remembering the scene that you see in the airport to help you in this. Or, of course, you can always Google images out, see if there's any reference that you can use.
Yeah, I was going
Right?
to
For
ask
this,
you, would you ever
yeah,
Google to have an idea of scale and like when you're trying to create
yeah,
something? So yeah, you do.
yes, yeah. I do that always, always, just to make sure that again, my not to say my achievement is to make sure that it looks realistic as possible. So I always do that so that people always question whether this is a real image or whatever not, right? So of course, in order to achieve that, you need to make sure whatever you resize or you scale makes perfect sense. So I'm gonna put him right there, like this. We can always adjust him later. And what I'm going to do is, it doesn't make sense for his feet to be there. So I'm gonna just reduce the opacity a bit more. Maybe reduce him a bit more. The engine is still too big, and move it here. Okay, that is sitting on it. And what I'm going to do is, okay, you can see the area where the leg is. I'm going to reduce the whole body so that I can look closer where I need to do the cutoff. I'm going to press on L, which is polygonal lasso. I'm going to do polygonal lasso as my guide, like this, right? And select this area, switch to B, and rub it off.
Nice.
And press. There you go. So it's sitting inside, right? Like this. Okay. So of course we need to do adjustment to his colors. It doesn't make sense for him to be too bright like this. In order to do that, quickly go to the hue and saturation again. Make sure you press on alternate so that you mask only him. And let's reduce the lightness. Again, I'm basing the light settings based on the moon. I haven't switched to the other light yet. So let's reduce even darker. So you can see he's sitting there, and I'm trying to match with the engine. Again, I'm using three different hue and saturation here. One for the cliff, one for the engine, and one for the man itself, the soldier. But if you notice, none of it I'm resharing the assets because each of this will have a different texture and everything. I rather use different hue and saturation, like the lightness, right? I don't want to mix one and then I can even cut him off and put it there and hide all the other hues and have one hue. I can even
Right.
do that, right? If I want to, but I don't want to because the textures are all different. they will have a different lightness in them.
Yeah. So
So
each one
once you're
needs to
done with
be
that,
individually. It needs to be individually adjusted.
adjusted.
Mm.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah. So once you're done with that, okay, so I have this and everything. I think it's, again, I'm trying to imagine this happens. So two parties fight each other, and then the plane exploded. He's one of the survivor. I don't know why most of my scenes are always like that. There will be one fella there in my photo manipulation, like my previous. Again, I don't know. I think, but it's nice to have like a solo person. Again, I like to watch movie that's based on one person. I don't know if there's any more movie that you watched earlier. I think there's one movie, Ryan Reynolds, but he was buried on the graveyard or something. I don't know if you remember. It's called Buried.
Oh, I
That
don't know if I've
movie,
seen that one.
yeah, it's just taken in one place inside the graveyard. That's the movie. So it's crazy. I'm gonna bring in one more stock image here. Again, probably he managed to save some boxes. Again, I don't know. It can be the bullets or some food. Again, I don't know what's in the plane. But it's nice to have a crate like this to show more realistic scene. Okay, he managed to grab this, and then he's just thinking how to survive and all that. So I have this crate. I need to mask. Just press on W, select subject. It's not selected. No worries. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press on magic one this time. Perfect. Even though I selected on magic one, I think some people have this problem when they mask, they get this. Okay, the
Right.
problem here is that because you select the white area, it's like that. So what you do is you just Control Shift I to invert the selection, and then you mask. Cool. So we have these boxes, of course, hue and saturation again. Let's fix the lighting. Alternate.
And I'll
I'm
let
gonna
you know as
reuse
well.
light.
Let you and chat know we've got about 8 minutes left until our
Yep.
Q&A break as well. So if you guys do have questions about anything you've seen so far or any other questions, now's a good time to get them in, so we can
Yep.
ask the questions during Q&A.
Yeah, questions. Do ask them. I am all here to answer whatever question you guys have. Okay, cool. So we have a crate. We have this. We have four different images added together. We fix the lighting. The moon is still bright. Da da da. Okay, it's nice to also do something else. It's nice to bring in our second source of light, which will be this. This is our second source of light. Again, I'm imagining he managed to find some woods and he has some equipments to fire up this campfire. So I'm gonna just put it here. Again, he's there sitting right beside it. So this is our second light source. You see, whatever colors that I've adjusted earlier was never based on this. And now that I've added this, things change. So we have first light coming from the moon, and we also have this light over here that will light up this area, right? So what I'm going to do is first, of course, to remove the black background, like I said earlier, always use screen. Now you see I've removed it already. I'm gonna just position it at the bottom here, just like this. Okay, now the fire is there. Is there sitting, thinking what to do next. What we're going to do now is we need to do a bit of masking to the campfire because it doesn't make sense to have all that, I think like a steel around it. So I'm gonna switch to B. Flow, make sure it's very little, 25, which is perfect. And I'm gonna just brush off only the edge of the fire here. I'm gonna try to merge the sand with the cliff. Don't worry about this area, we will fix very soon. And if you're wondering, Ramesh, how do you, probably that's one of the question again, I don't know. How do you fix the lighting in terms of like, how do you know how far the light might reach? Again, because it's a campfire, I'm sure there's a lot of like a reference that I can use. I do have like a reference that I can share in a bit where I'll see in terms of like how the light hits the person. How would it look like? All that. I do have that. I'll show you guys in a bit after I adjust this. Perfect, so that we have that. Again, don't worry about the soldier first. First, we have to light up this area. Let's go back underneath the cliff here. layer, create a new layer. Let's call this light, right? Make sure you press on alternate so that only that area is selected. Okay, cool. So now I need to light up the cliff first to see how far can the light reach. So I'm going to press on I to color pick. Okay, that looks perfect. Again, use soft light for this. Soft light, what we'll do, okay, if you just do normal, you probably won't get to see the texture. Can you see that? Like
Right.
if I use
Yep.
normal blending, you just basically coloring on top of it. But if you use soft light, you get to see the color and the texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my brush like this. Again, like how I created the shadow for the engine, I'm going to do same here. I'm actually coloring at the back. Nobody can see because the layer is at the back of this engine. So I'm going to now Control T, press on alternate shift and move things around. If I drag down, I want you to see, look at the down part of the engine. If I
Yep.
zoom in, now you get the light, right? So I'm going to place it right close to it like this. I'm going to enlarge it again. You can always use the warp tool to create the light. Again, I'm going to move this around. You can see now the cliff has a light.
And is that light below or above the shadow that you added in before?
This is actually below the shadow.
It's below the
Because
shadow.
again, because it need to be spread even over, like for example, even the shadow underneath the engine, because I bring in the light already, we will adjust back the shadow that we created earlier so that it won't be visible anymore because the light hitting the engine, so the shadow will go underneath the engine, right? So that's why I say always based on the lighting when you start creating it. For example, from the moonlight, make sure everything is the moonlight settings. Once you add a second light, things will change. Yeah,
Cool.
but very good question. Okay, next I am going to just slowly use back the same settings. I'm going to just brush underneath here like that, right? So there's also a shadow if you notice, like you see up here, engine shadow is there. So I'm going to remove it later. But for now, I'm going to just place it there first. I'm going to color where the light could reach. Maybe until there, a bit, but more intense over here. There you go. That's done. Maybe here. Okay, now time to adjust the shadow. Let's zoom in. You have the engine shadow. Press on it, Control T, right click, use the warp tool, and then move the shadow down like this. There are many ways to do this. You can even do using masking if you want to. Okay, that's that. Okay, now you have, let's see. Okay, maybe I can do a bit more adjustment. I'll just mask it. Cool, I still have the shadow at the back of the engine. That's perfect. Okay, now that I have this, time to light up the front part of the engine. In order to do that, I actually found a very quick way to get this done. You can do manual way to go in here and adjust one by one, which I am not going to do so. What I'm going to do is I am going to create a new layer. Not really a new layer. I'm just going to create a color lookup. Now, if you remember, here there's a lot of settings. And which one has the orange hue? Edgy amber. So I'm going to use this as my guide. What I'm going to do is, as you can see, if I place it on top, it doesn't make sense to it to be there. I'm going to bring in right above the engine, just like this.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So when you do that, you can see there's two areas here. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to click on the color lookup. Again, always remember the white area here is for you to mask. I am going to brush off the other areas of the lights that doesn't make sense. For example, you see down here is more yellow tint, like this area here. If we go in here, hopefully you guys can see it. There you go. It's because I want this area to be lightened up. What I'm doing is I'm combining two color lookup together, but I mask one of it. Okay, let's see before and after again. If I disable this layer, I actually have two. I have the blue tint over, and I also have the orange tint, which is the edgy amber. So I'm going to just use the edgy amber to give me more of the orange hue around this area here, so that it helps me guide through to create the lighting of that person. Um, and in order to see that, what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in, okay, I'm going to bring up the color lookup right above and also the color lookup right below it. And what I'm going to do is, because this area is orangey, let's go back to the soldier. Remember this? Can you see he's now yellow tint, like an
Yeah.
orange tint, because of the color lookup. I don't have to add on like another layer and then start coloring him in orange color and all that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use color lookup as a tool to help me create the yellow hue already. And the next thing is I'm going to just light up. I'm going to go back to the soldier. I'm going to reduce the opacity so that it's more visible, and it's coming there. It's coming more visible right now. And go back to the hue and saturation, and time to erase the black spots.
Okay. And we are at
Okay.
Q&A as well. So after we've done this step,
Perfect.
maybe we'll answer some questions.
Yeah, we can actually do that now
Okay.
if there's any question. Yep.
For sure. So let us know, throw your questions in while we take a bit of a Q&A break. Let's bring us... so actually we were chatting, easy question at the beginning. You're chatting about movies and everyone's been talking about their movies in chat. So what's your favorite movie in space?
Gravity.
Gravity. We
Without-
spoke about that last week, didn't we? You watched it
Yeah,
a
we
lot?
did. We did. I watched like many times. I think I did watch to. I watched like. I went to the cinema to watch it like 3 times. Here's what I do, right? When I watch movies, I watch 3 times. Reason because one is the storyline, because I got no time to look at the details yet. The second time I go in to look at details, and three to see if I get inspired out of it. And I don't mind spending a lot of money to just make sure that I'm comfortable watching in the big screen, because again, Gravity, seeing that movie in like 3D Max and all that, it makes a lot of difference than a normal cinema. So yeah, I do that a lot.
There was a couple of questions around the story, and I know we spoke about it a couple of times, but I'll kind of sum up the questions about, do you always approach a piece with a clear idea of what it will turn into?
Yes.
And do you ever change the idea as you're going?
Most of the time, I don't change. I make sure that once I've opened up Canvas, I know this is what I'm gonna do, right? Because you already have a bunch of stock images to help you create the story. If I open up the Canvas and I already have the stock images, never occurred to me that I shouldn't do it, or maybe I should change it to another story. No, because time is super important. I like to manage it that way. That I know, okay, I have the stock images. I know I can create something out of it. And when you hustle through to get it done, that's when you learn as well. Like for example, actually I can do this, because I think every work that I do is like a practice for me. Like I always say, practice makes better, not perfect, but you do learn new things. Like even like this, while I'm telling you guys how to do lighting, I back in my head I'm learning new things. Like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever recreated something? So you've finished your artwork maybe 6 months later, or even you've published it and you thought, oh, actually, I think I want to change it. Yeah. Have you ever changed it, or do you always move on to the next one?
I know I do go back and see there will be a lot of mistakes. Like I said before, it makes me happy that I did the mistake, because it gave me an opportunity to create based on the mistake tomorrow or today. So yeah, because if I'm happy with it, I probably won't be creating new artworks already. I'll be like, oh, I'm done for the day. Or, I know I'm not that kind of person. I like to keep creating stuff because I know I'm learning new things. So.
Yeah, definitely something I've picked up from you is you're always looking to learn, always looking to improve, always learning from your own work is something that we've spoken about quite a lot. There's a lot of people chatting about their favorite space movies, so yeah, let us know in chat. Not a space movie, but I've watched Terminator 2 and Total Recall a lot of times.
Total Recall is also one of my favorites.
It's really good. Fifth Element is in here as well. Bunch of cool movies. My favorite's Interstellar, I think. anything by
Oh, Interstellar is
anything
nice.
by
Yeah,
Christopher
yeah,
Nolan
yeah, yeah. Oh,
is
of course.
is great. Um,
Yep.
so there was a question early on about one of your pieces, probably that someone in chat has seen on Instagram, which was how do you change the skin color to blue, like in your Shiva or Krishna pic?
Wow, that's one of the top most asked question. I think I did share it in one of my stream
Yeah.
in my behinds. I can let's see if I can quickly show that. Um, or maybe once we have time later,
If we have time at
right?
the end,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I can show a very quick one. No
Okay.
worries.
Okay, great. At Astro, good movie. Yes. Some other people agreeing Interstellar is a good movie. Okay, great. Well, thanks for the questions, guys. Feel free to throw more questions in chat as we're going along, but we can get back and jump
Yeah,
back in.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Cool.
Back to the fire.
So
Nice
back
cozy
to the
fire.
fire. Yeah, and it's raining right now here in KL. So yeah, I can actually feel
You
the
can
fire.
feel the fire. Yeah.
So here, what I'm doing is, as you can see, I'm also slowly adjusting the engine so that it makes more sense for it to reflect on the engine as well. So there you go. That's the area that I masked earlier. Um, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to see how far could the light reach, right? I'm doing some adjustments here. You can see I need to fix the shadow where he sits. So that's super important. Um, and also super important to also brush this area here because it makes sense for the light to reach. There you go. Slowly we are creating the light. So which is perfect. So I'm gonna. And you're wondering how to switch when mask and unmask stuff. B is to it's brush. Like for example, use X to switch your palette. For example, you can see here black and white. So white is to bring back, is to mask. So I always make sure that my finger is on the X when I do masking, so that I know that I don't mistakenly mask something and it's very easy to handle. So shortcuts is super important in Photoshop. Always remember the shortcut. Even yesterday at my workplace, I did taught a bunch of social media guys to to use shortcut more so that you can create things fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here and more lights. Maybe here. Okay. Next thing what I can do is if you want to increase more of the hue of the orange color, what you can do is you can always use create a new layer. Let's call this light. Um, Make sure your normal is switched to color. So what's that mean is that it will pick up color based on what's that's selected. So for example, you can see color being selected over there, right? So okay, now that it's masked, so now you can see it. Okay, now can you see when I brush, it's more yellow because it's color blended and I'm picking the color from my color palette.
Right. It's definitely
Yeah,
subtle, but yeah.
yeah. So if you go in here, you can see it. There you go. And also, I think it would be nice to add a bit of yellow onto the soldier as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same setting. Let's call this light. Let's switch normal to color so that on top of the edgy ember, I can even use more of the orange hue here. Okay, I need to fix the shadow very quickly before I proceed. Let me go to the engine here. Again, where he sits, it doesn't make sense to do below him. So I'm going to use the masking of the engine. Create a new layer. Let's call this soldier's shadow. Okay, I'm going to press on L to help me create the shape of the shadow. I am going to, again, trying to imagine the light is here. It hits up here. So I'm going to make a selection right from the top like this. Go through his body at the back, underneath where he sits like this, and then like this, and like that. Okay, this is just a shape like this. And if you're wondering what am I doing, I'm trying to create a shape where he sits, and I'm going to need a black for that. Press on D to quickly get a black color. G to paint bucket, drop it in, Control D to deselect, and you can actually see the shadow there. And of course, it's super harsh. What you're supposed to do is that you need to blur it out. Let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. So when you did that, you will have this shadow that's reflected.
Right.
Right, it's smoother. You can see preview before and after. So click on OK. We need to do some adjustment, obviously. Oh, and if you're wondering how do I create this lighting, right? I do have like a mood board that I have, right? So I actually found this image here. I'm gonna bring it in.
Ah,
There you go. This is a reference that I use.
great.
Like for example, yeah. So from here, you know how the light is supposed to be,
Mm,
right? Whether it's a harsh light, how close they are
mm,
to the fire. It's also something that you guys can learn. For example, there are a lot of adjustment I need to do. I need to make sure the contrast is more towards the soldier. You can see how far they are. Like for example, this boy over here is sitting over there, but you can see the shadows are really dark at the back.
mm.
So meaning we need to go back to the engine and make sure that we adjusted that, right? All this. So yeah, always use this kind of mood board. You can put it at the side if you want, right? For example,
Yeah,
I can even put it here and then concentrate on this, and then maybe overall contrast I can adjust, which I can do now if I want to. So I
that's
can go
great.
up
Do you
here.
ever, so you use it as a visual reference? Do you ever like color drop from there or anything like that? Or do you always just use it
Um,
as a visual guide?
Correct. I always use as a visual guide only. Colors I will create myself because again I want to practice creating more realistic stuff
Mm,
by myself rather than do it here.
yep.
Like grab something from there. Yeah. So here what I'm doing is I'm trying to match with the contrast of this image. You can always do that by yourself. Right on top of all your artwork, you can also create this contrast. For example, can you see that? So yeah, it makes a lot of difference. So yeah. So you can do that. Yeah, that's perfect. And of course, as you can see, it's more harsher. So we'll do the adjustment a bit more in a bit. For now, I'll just hide it. Going here. Let's go back to the soldier. Again, I need to add more of shadows at the back of the soldier here. And I'm going to switch to my brush. Normal is fine. I'm going to darken this area here, like his hand and everything. Snake at the back again doesn't make sense for the light to reach until that feet of his because the light only reflect here. So yeah, so these are the adjustment that usually is super important to adjust here. And he has this hat. You can color it a bit. Again, you can always zoom out and zoom in to see whichever that makes sense and whichever not. Zoom out. Okay, while I'm doing this, I'm gonna quickly create more effects before I forget. I am going to bring in, because it's a fire camp, it makes sense for me to have like particles.
Mm.
So I'm gonna just switch it to screen.
Hey, there was a question in chat around like what this is called. I think we've called it photo manipulation. Johanna was asking, is there a reason you call this photo manipulation instead of matte painting? But yeah,
Oh,
what do you call it? What do you call it these days? What we're
oh,
doing?
I actually call this photo manipulation still,
Mm.
or sometimes I call this a concept art. Again,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a matte painting because matte painting requires a lot of like sketchers and whatever. It's basically like a painting. I think
Mm.
concept art and photo manipulation works the best, like the right term.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean photo manipulation I think is what we've called it.
yeah,
We've called it today. But yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if I ever
Because
asked
we are
you if I got that
literally
from you.
because we are literally manipulating. Like it's like the like super obvious. We are
Yeah.
manipulating photos.
It's a
Yeah.
very straightforward title for
Yeah,
it,
very
isn't it? Yeah.
straightforward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Imagine back then when I was involved in this, like the creating of all the different stock images, putting it together. I don't even know the term,
Mm.
so it's hard for me to even look for someone that I like. I want to learn. I think probably that's the reason why I didn't even have like a mentor because I keep referring to myself to
Yeah.
improvise.
Had to
So
learn it all
yeah,
yourself, yeah.
yeah. So bring in more of the fire particles again. Like always say, always imagine you're there. What do you see and stuff like that? It's super important. And I'm gonna just scale this very quickly. Again, I'm using screen to remove all the different black spots around it here. And if you want to make this movement and whatever not, right click on it, choose swap, and where the fire flows or whatever, it's all under your control. Here. Okay, I'm gonna need to do a bit of lower down of the opacity, like that. Let's zoom in here. I'm gonna mask it, press on B, like this. There you go. I don't need most of these areas. I'm gonna do the same on these five particles. Go like that. Okay, sitting there. We're gonna adjust more of the lighting over the person. Another quick way, again, because it's the last series that we have, I wanna infuse more of the different treatment that you guys can add. For example, what I'm going to do now is that I'm gonna go right on top of the color lookup. What are other quick way to create more of the light? You can always enlarge your brush, color pick something from here itself. I think orange might work, so I'm going to adjust the color a bit more on my slide here. Again, it's super important to have your colors always at the side so that you can always go and pick it. I think some designers like to hide it at the side top. Let's not do that so that you can get things done faster that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's something that as well,
yeah.
like you've customized your space, like over
Yeah.
time, you've like customized your space to the things that you use all the time to speed up your efficiency.
Yeah. So what you can do is on the soft light here, that's what you can do. Right. If let's say you're again, final touch up is super important, right? Like I said, you can even create it this way. Like for example, you can see this light that I've just added is on top here. There you go. Even though I didn't adjust the engine and the soldier and a different treatment like their own layer, I quickly drop a new layer on top, but I call it soft light. Soft light will literally make sure you still can see the texture at the back, but it kind of add colors to whichever area that you drop it. So I'm gonna call this overall light, because before I forget, we also have a very important character. Okay, crate. Before that, I have a crate here which I need to fix the light thing.
Right. So that's our boxes, our crates over
Yeah,
to the left hand side. Yeah.
All right. So we have there, and you have to imagine the light hits there as well. Before I forget, let's light up the crate as well. Not so much. Let me reduce the flow, and just a bit like this.
And
So that you
there's
know
another
that.
question in chat if we can answer it while
Sure.
we're going.
Sure.
Where do you get inspiration and ideas for photo manipulation? Behance, Pinterest, etc.
Oh, one definitely movies. Like I said,
Right,
I'm a
yeah.
movie freak. Like movies, like number one, and I do go behind. If you want to look for more inspiration, just go to Discover. If you're following the thread of Photoshop, you get to see all the different types of like how Photoshop being done. Like for example, for example, like collaterals, people can use like to create like billboards and stuff like that. Me, I particularly will Google photo manipulation, just to look at how people have used the term photo manipulation to create. I think most of people will use for ad purposes, and I love looking at ads. I think super important. Like for example, you can see. I don't know if you guys seen this billboard, right? It's photo manipulation where they use billboard as what movie was it? Was it CSI? I think there was a light coming from the billboard that works as a light in prison where you question somebody, right? You know how
Oh,
you
like
have
an
only one light?
interrogation light?
Yeah, exactly. So he was holding the actual light of a billboard and flash through his face of this person, as they
Right.
call it CSI or something. So I like that's super innovative, super creative. So I like seeing this, but sometimes I do have that crazy ideas here. Again, if you ask me, we always in Malaysia we always wanted to do outside the box billboard, but our rules here in Malaysia is very different. So at
Right.
times my clients do ask me if that can be done, but I was like, can, but I'm not sure if Malaysian government gonna approve that and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's super important to. That's why I always love looking at all the different designs all around the world to see where am I, where is the other artists around the world, like how far we have come, how far we have used Photoshop to create stuff and stuff like that. So, anyways, yeah.
Right.
That's how I see stuff. Pinterest, yeah, at times I do see Pinterest. But most of the time on Behance, Photoshop, I do go to, I think it's a design inspiration. There's also another one. It's called ArtStation. I'm not sure if you guys know.
ArtStation as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's super good. There you can see like tons of artists, like matte painting artists. 3D modeling is also one of my favorite because my work require a lot of characters creation. I like to see how people created using the Greek mythology and all that. So yeah, it's super interesting to also to learn the culture of different people. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, there you go. Lots of places.
Yeah. Next, you see, he's here, nowhere. God knows where is he, but he has the cliff, full moon, and everything. But he don't know there's actually a guest waiting for him. This is the guest.
Ah.
Yeah. I want to create a story, right? Like I said, you can see the stock image that I get, which is so perfect. The light hits the left hand side, which is perfect. Again, back of my mind is saying, oh, that's the light from the moon. And then you can see the tank and everything is like, super delicious food tonight once the fire is off. So yeah. I'm going to press on W and click on it to see the subject is selected. Yeah, a bit more over here. Press on L, Shift to select more of the feet. I need this character to be there before I forget, because I can carry the way in adding details, because I also want to show the other stock images that I have. Okay, I'm going to deselect this part here. Okay, a bit more over there. Okay, that's cool. And let's mask. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. It's it here. He's waiting over there.
You got to try to get the proportions right of how big a
Yeah. So I'm looking. My eyes is looking at the soldier now. Okay, now the wolf is at the back. If you were to jump down here, it probably has to be this big, So I need back of my brain, like I said, it's always good to practice more, like I said, so that you understand more of the different perspective or size. Okay, that works, and I will now adjust the edge first because I think the edge is not so clean. Press on W, select mask. I am going to shift the edge. There you go. That's okay. And if you notice, the leg and the feet is okay because it's standing on top of the cliff. So the leg probably will get cut off. So I'm going to use L to quickly guide me through this. And I'm going to press on B to rub off the feet. Okay. Control D. Okay. That, and I am going to now use hue and saturation. Press on alternate, reduce the light so you can only see a bit of silhouette there. Okay, but I will also add a bit of yellow tint, reduce the opacity there. If you notice, is the wolf is actually standing at the side of the stone, like a big rock here. Also, we need to do some adjustment for that. I'm going to quickly click on B here, and I'm gonna switch to the black color and just erase again. Like more light doesn't make sense that coming from the moon because it's being blocked by the stone. Okay, but I will probably will add a bit of yellow tint. Let's call this wolf. Just call it light. I'm gonna click on color, switch it to color and yellow tint, and I think it's good to have a bit of yellow tint.
So just a little bit of yellow coming from the
from the fire cam. Yeah.
Hey, there was a question in chat. Do you ever use Adobe Camera Raw to look up colors? I haven't used it myself, so I'm not actually familiar with it.
No, I do have at times a message being prompted up in Photoshop itself. That if I take a very raw image that's not being processed. But most of the time, stock images that I download they are high HD JPEGs. So I think it's already been processed. So I don't get these messages. Yeah, but if you're a photographer, that's something that you need to probably you encounter more. Okay.
Cool.
So that's that, and I'm going to adjust more of the lighting for the engine B. So we have nine. We are now halfway, like another 15 more, 20 more minutes. So what I'm
Yep.
going to do is,
Exactly.
right after this, I'm gonna show how I changed the skin thing before I forget. I think one of the mostly asked questions, frequently asked questions. Yeah. Okay, that shadow is over here. I'm going to fix the shadow of the soldier engine. Yeah. Okay, here. B. This, if you notice here, there's like a dark spot. That's because we have a soldier shadow that's went over the edges. So we're gonna clean up that very quickly. Again, very very important. Do not just end your photo manipulation just like that. The process. Always step back again, see, look at it. Does it make sense? And then go jump back in and try to adjust stuff.
So, from a story perspective, who's going to win, the wolf or the soldier?
Ah, I think that I leave it up to your imagination.
That's the tension for the audience.
Yeah. He's just waiting for the fight to turn off. He don't even know the wolf is at the back there. Again, right? It's funny how stock images, right? It's just there, but then uh, all this being done using just like it's amazing how we can create story out of it, right?
For
It's
sure.
it's it's that's why I always like photo manipulation. It's because all of this were just a bunch of photos. Like for example, let's quickly look back. Right, this is what we have. Right, they're all taken into different places, different countries, different tones, dark and night. But once you have everything joined together, you tell a brand new story.
Absolutely.
The beauty of photo manipulation. Yeah,
Mm.
and quickly I'm gonna go in here and adjust more of the shadow of the soldier over here. Okay.
Yes,
Back
comment in
of-
chat. I guess the wolf has the element of surprise, but the soldier is experienced in fighting. And he also has a gun. So curious who would win.
Oh wow, smart. I actually forgot about the gun.
That's
You guys
right.
are good.
Festus is saying eventually the soldier will fall asleep though. So
Okay. He looks pretty intense. I don't know what is he up to. Is he like angry or something? Cool. So what we're gonna do now is that we will add another effect on top of the aura light. I call this color dodge. Let's call this color dodge so that we get more of the intense color dodge. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna color pick something from here. Let's change normal to color dodge. Again, each of this blending mode, I think I always say to my friend, these are like God's gift. Each one has their own magic, and color dodge is something that I use to highlight stuff. For example, what you can do is if you go back to the engine here, if you want to create more of the harsh light because it's too close to the fire, you can also use this. Like for example, if I were to do this, let me just change normal color dodge. It will be more intense. Can you see that? Yeah. So each of this, if it's soft light and whether or not, each will have their own elements. So it's super important to have like to try out all this so that you know what are all this like, what's the function. It's like perfect. I'm also going to reduce some shadow on the engine. Okay, these are the shadows we add earlier. If you remember when we created the lights of the moon. So now that we don't need it, we can always reduce it. So you can see now the color or the tone of the fire is now taking place. So I'm gonna reduce it. You can see how it's more intense now. Color dodge, I am gonna create a new layer now on top of this and call this color dodge as well. And call this color dodge. So it's more intense. There you go. You zoom out, you get to see more like a realistic. Always zoom out and see whether it makes sense and whatever not. So yeah, the beauty of having so I can able to zoom in and zoom out easily because my monitor is like touchscreen. I think it's similar to those people who using tablet.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're pinching and zooming on your screen there.
Yeah, in my screen. So this ZBook that I'm using, I able to do that. My productivity goes up like crazy because I can also use the magnifier. Just that I can control where I want to zoom in. For example, if I want to go to the wolf right now, by just pinching, you can see my finger. I can do that and zoom out. So yeah, just that I'm not used to this tablet. So I'm used to again. I need to do also other work rather than just design. So this is super flexible. I can even zoom in just like this on a web pages because I'm a web designer also in some part of my career. So yeah, it's easy to do that.
You do it all.
Yeah, it thinks that I'm a person who don't like to depend on other people. So these are the reason why I can code. I can also do web design and this. So yeah, yeah. Cool, we're getting there. Let's see if I want to add more item. We are actually good. Let me see if I can increase my yellow tint over here. Overall color lookup. There you go. Oh, so you can see the difference, right? You see color lookup I've added before edgy amber and without it. And if you feel like adding more of the effects, if you remember in my previous tutorials as well in Adobe Live, what are other things that you guys can do? Always use gradient tool if you feel like you want to add more of the colors. Again, I'm going right on top of this, right? I'm going to just delete the reference image and I can always use gradient, apply it like this. Okay. But then this is a gradient, right? I applied on top. But like I said, the beauty of blending. So I can always do this as well. And you choose which one works well. Like for example, like this, soft light works best. So it creates more of the story. And the beauty, I don't know if you guys noticed, there's also a teal and orange movie posters that's always been used. I think in Transformers and all that movie posters, there's always a yellow light and a blue light.
Right.
If you Google up teal and orange, you get to see all the different posters around the world that's being done
Is
that
like
way.
a common thing, like a blue light?
Yeah,
like a
somehow
warm
they
light
say
and a cold
cold
light?
and yeah, correct. Warm and cold light. If you add it together, it gives you a good feeling.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Like
even in a lot of
psychologically, there's something about it.
yes, it makes you feel like like it's real or something. It makes you feel like I think it's always used for this term of cinematic style or something. So wolf light campfire is there. Okay, let me adjust more of the campfire. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna just drag and drop the fire a bit more so you can see it's more intense, right? And also what I'm going to do is I'm gonna color. Okay, here's another thing about screen. If you made it to a screen, you notice at one point you get transparent because it's even removing the dark spot of this wood. If you notice campfire, there are some parts that should be darkened. So right below it, you can always color it black. So I'm gonna have my color black, reduce the flow a bit more, decrease my size, and we can always do this. Bring back the black spots like that. Because some wood, if you again try to imagine, some part need to be darkened. Not all area will be a bright area. So yeah, again, I'm trying to achieve a realistic look. It's super important to do this. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, there you go. We're almost done. Then we get the fire achieved. You can see the wolf perfectly lighted up. We have this crate. Everything else is there. I'm gonna reduce a bit of the soft light, not so much. Right? You can see how all the different lights helps to achieve this. So I'm gonna reduce the flow even more. Opacity. Cool. There you go. So from this
Wow.
to this.
It's amazing. And I think, yeah, as you said at the beginning, like a lot of those reference images are completely from the day. And you know you're making a nighttime scene. And some of those techniques you showed us, you can just completely change the type of light, you can use an image from the day for a night scene. I assume you can make a night scene into the day. Is that just as possible?
Yes, it's definitely possible. Yeah. But it's always a challenge from daytime to nighttime. It can also be a challenge the other way around, but the good thing is you learn. I think once you practice in changing all the different night and morning scene, you get to, like I said, end of the day, it's all about learning. It's okay if you get it wrong, but you do learn something out of it. So yeah. So it's you can see here, out of I think 60% is daytime, and 40% is like the nighttime mode. So yeah, it's always achievable, but yeah, it's all about practice as well. So what I'm gonna do now is very quickly, since I have a bit of time, I'm gonna look for a reference image. I'm gonna show how to create to change the skin tone.
The skin color.
Right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, I do have a reference image. Okay, This is this is a reference image that I used to create my latest photo manipulation. There you go. So we have this small little boy. So in order to change the color, let me just edge him up first. Select subject.
This is cool. Okay, bonus little tutorial at the end.
Yes, this is the bonus. So in order, okay, see, if you look at Indian goddesses, they always have this dark complex, like skin and all that. So in order to create that, duplicate your layer. Once you duplicate the layer, normal, change to multiply. Now you notice the color increases. Now this is not the right skin color. I usually use this treatment to make sure it blends back nicely. Go to adjustment, go to black and white, and now if you notice, the skin color is this.
Right.
This is the original. Once I multiply it and I change my image adjustment to black and white, it's literally gray. Right? It was a gray, but underneath, because I'm using this multiply, it blends the black and white onto the color. So I get this. Now, if you're wondering, okay, now fine, Ramesh, now it's a bit darker. How do I go blue? Press on alternate. I want you to go to normal to color. Make sure your color, again, Krishna and Lord Shiva, they always have this blue tint, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my brush.
Is that a historical thing? Like, is that?
It's a historical thing. Okay, so what happened is that back then all these goddesses are actually dark color. They are black.
Right.
Because black can be, again, back then this already have this colorism thing happening, I think. To portray black in a very nice way, it is said that they need to be shown in a different color. So they choose a blue. So that it's more, it looks nicer than a black color. So yeah. So that's the reason why Krishna, they're actually dark skin, like super black. Okay, so I'm gonna increase my brush very quick like this. You can see my color palette here, I've changed. And now if I apply the color, let me increase the flow. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's see. Oh, okay, my bad. Hold on. I need to merge this first. So in order, okay, here, make sure you group it. Smart object. Okay, now if you alternate, press, change normal to color. Now you're able to see it. There you go. This is how they change.
Oh, wow.
So of course the eyes,
easy.
Very easy, very easy. And the hair, you want to leave it up first. And of course you need to zoom in. Because this is color on top, you can always mask it. And you need to bring back the original colors, especially the eyes need to have this original color. This is how I create stuff. This is like one of the most asked questions.
So you get this question, you get this question all the time.
A lot, all the time. And then the lips, bring back the color. Yeah. Or if you ever have another stream after this, God knows when, I would like to use photo manipulation to create a character like a warrior. But it's using the technique of photo manipulation. So yeah, that's something. Okay, by the way, this is how you create blue color tone skin. As easy as this. There you go.
That's awesome. I love the bonus quick tutorial at the end. So yeah, thanks for the question. I think it was Mr. Click. So I hope that helps you out. And yeah, maybe you can always grab this link, and when people ask you, you can just share that video.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Say, hey, I showed everyone how to do it on Adobe Live right at the end, the last 5 minutes.
Bonus, yeah.
bonus stuff. This is awesome. Yeah, cool.
Do we have time, Flynn, or how long we have?
We've got like 3 minutes, so it's up to
Okay,
you.
no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
3 minutes
I
gets
have
a bit
another
tight.
one. Probably I will show it the next time. Then you
Um,
guys gotta wait.
I think that sounds super cool. Yeah, to create using your techniques to create like a warrior person. So yeah, let's definitely cook that up. We'll chat offline about that, and definitely get you
Sure.
back on, because I really enjoyed this series. Maybe because we've got a couple minutes, maybe we could do a quick recap again of just
Perfect.
the last two as well.
Yeah, sure. So what
That
we
out.
did was 2 weeks ago. This is what we did. We actually took all the different images like this. You can see I've taken the orange color leaves, the tree, and I took the monk out of this picture over here, background. I cropped this statue out and peacock, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
Right? That's our first tutorial. And then quickly last week, what we did was we taken all these different images to create a new story, which is this. And this week, by just using all these images, we created this.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And it's quite funny watching it this way, because it's almost like, cool, we just take this stuff and then bang, and then we create this thing. You really have to,
Yeah.
really have to watch the live stream, because there's a lot of subtle changes, a lot of layers, a lot of blending modes, the right blending mode for the right situation as well. So there's so much to unpack, so much to learn. And thank you so much. Like, it's always a pleasure having you on. So thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for asking questions. Again, I'm always here. You can always contact me through social media, and I'm more than free to just answer whatever questions you guys have.
Excellent. Yeah, and thank you, chat. You guys have been great. There's been some excellent questions today and throughout this entire series. You guys have been awesome. Please do stick around. Andrew Hotradell is going to be continuing on the Daily Creative Challenge, so check that out. We'll be there in chat, watching together, and we'll be back with more Adobe Live next week. Ramez, I hope you have a very well-deserved rest and long weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And yeah, thank you guys. So we'll see you soon in just 7 minutes with Andrew and the Daily Creative Challenge. Thanks, Ramez. See you later.
Bye-bye, guys.